While Deafheaven has amassed a strong fanbase over the past 10 years, it's safe to say the band also has become quite polarizing in the metal community, specifically with metal elitists and black metal fans who cannot fathom how people love Deafheaven when the music isn't extreme enough to be labeled as black metal or even blackened, which leads to online arguments from metal nerds. Of the many bands metal elitists like to argue about, Deafheaven has always been confusing, as the argument is never about whether Deafheaven can create great music, but rather metal nerds refusing to classify them into a subgenre, and black metal fans becoming very upset when Deafheaven is even brought up. To those people I say, go cry off your corpse paint and listen to something else. Leave Deafheaven fans alone. Infinite Granite, the band's 5th studio album running roughly 54 minutes across 9 tracks, makes this a standard Deafheaven album with long tracks. Being honest, that's one of the qualities I enjoy about Deafheaven's music in the past. The music takes its time to create a mood. The difference for 2021 is that the band is lowering the intensity for the most part. The high-pitched, shocking vocals of George Clark have mostly taken a backseat to softer, cleaner singing to accompany the bulk of runtime in Infinite Granite. It's a big change for a band who is identified as music to scare the elderly and pacify hipsters simultaneously. This style was hinted at in the past, especially in the quieter moments of the 2018 album Ordinary Corrupt Human Love, which I really enjoyed, but the metal label applied to Deafheaven will now be more in question to elitists with Infinite Granite. In an interview with Pitchfork, George Clark said about the writing process for Infinite Granite, "The ultimate goal with writing these songs was to replace the intensity that we used to bring with speed with more density, using different voices, different textures, heavier production, things like that." Clark would also say this was a difficult album to write without reverting back to older writing styles and trying to make something different. "I was fine with an attempted change in sound going in because of how talented the band is in combining subgenres and for their past track record of creating smooth, excellently played music. That being said, my expectations were still a bit uncertain going in." The first single, Great Mass of Color, got me arguably more excited for Infinite Granite than any other upcoming album in 2021. The smooth bass carrying the song with the amazing melody all melts together, and George sounds reserved and peaceful until the final minute where you hear him cut loose like a dragon's roar. It's a great build-up, and this song is a great introduction to what Deafheaven are trying to evolve into. The Gnashing was the following single, and while the title sounds rough and violent, the song becomes hypnotic. Harmonic guitars fading in and out with prominent drum work that leads to louder volume and leads to the shoegaze style that Deafheaven can create. It may go on a bit long without changing much, but make no mistake, this is not a crazy wild song. It's serene in moments. In Blur made me appreciate some of the simple and steady guitar work that Deafheaven can bring. The guitar melodies are the standouts. I think this is what George Clark was referring to when trying to expand past fierce screaming and make something different. While 5.5 minutes, the song has a good steady progression like Great Mass of Color, and it goes by fast. Great Mass of Color and In Blur were the songs that got me hyped. In Blur specifically was a great introduction to the more serene and less fierce sound of Deafheaven, while Great Mass of Color highlighted just enough of the fury they still had at the song's tail end. These are two big highlights of the album and feel different from each other. Other songs on the album don't always have that quality. The album opener, Shellstar, starts a step slower than the previous singles and is definitely a different feeling and style than Deafheaven of years past. The guitar tone is fantastic. The percussion is pretty standard but prominent. It's just over 6 minutes and you get lost in this one pretty quickly due to the layering at the end. Neptune Raining Diamonds, running a brief 3 minutes, is an ominous keyboard interlude that's reminiscent of Outworld exploration movie soundtracks. You know, the where explorers are discovering new life on a planet or floating through space. I hope Neptune sounds exactly like this. It sounds lovely. Lament for Wasps continues great guitar melodies with Clark singing softly in the back. The bigger swelling moments in the first half are reminiscent of 90s alternative styles. At 7 minutes, the track does drag after a while without as much payoff as hopes, but the tone still connects with the rest of Infinite Granite. I just wish the song was worth more time invested listening. Villain has the speed pick up a half step in both percussion and guitar work with some great playing. Clark goes an octave higher at points, making the track flourish just a little, and I swear I get more faint early 90s new wave and god style vibes in a song like this. The pickup at 4 minutes adds the extra oomph that has been desperately missed in other songs as well. This is what I was wanting more of. Other Language is a breathy 6-minute track similar to Lament for Wasps. Well played instrumentally and always fits the tone of the album, but it just begs for a bigger payoff. Clark's vocals were becoming blended into the guitar tracks, and he's sounding more distant, whether intentionally or not. Finally, Mombasa starts more simply and calmly, with Clark sounding smoother with a good bass line in the back. When I talk about time invested and payoff, this song is a phenomenal example. Everything concludes so perfectly for Deafheaven on this closing track. I wish more songs on here resemble the excitement and gripping music that Mombasa has. Deafheaven for years have been able to make music that grips you, and there are definitely songs that have that quality in Infinite Granite, but so much of the album is a washed out haze that doesn't enliven you or keep you encompassed in amazing, memorable music. In fact, there are a lot of segments and songs that sound identical to each other. You understand from the beginning that Deafheaven was going for something here, and I think they succeeded in that style change while sounding similar to their past, but I wish the songwriting itself just was a bit more captivating throughout. Overall, Infinite Granite is an attempt at evolution from the band wanting to be known for more than one trick. Technically sound and still feeling like a Deafheaven album, but less extreme and more serene. While not all moments are memorable, it still feels like the group is desperately trying to express a world of emotion through music. There are glimpses of that shine through some of the granite. What did you think of Infinite Granite? Leave a comment and let everyone know. Big thanks to my patrons and a special thanks to Brandon Barenfeld, Chris Stoneman, and Dom Noble. You can have a say in upcoming videos, get weekly new music playlists, and see videos early by supporting Rocked on Patreon. Click the link in the video description for more info. Please subscribe and ring the bell to get notified on upcoming videos, and you can keep up to date with Rocked on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I will say this about Infinite Granite, it'll be nice to play this album really loud, and if the neighbors hear some of it, they won't think someone is dying or getting murdered as opposed to previous albums. The screaming on past albums really could stop traffic.